Against a tense regional backdrop and amid the roar of military exercises, Poland's leaders have delivered a clear message. The country is standing firm, NATO is united, and its armed forces are entering a new era of capability and modernization. The day's announcements, delivered by senior officials and military commanders, highlighted two urgent themes: deterrence in the face of provocation and long-term investments in Poland's defense. What unfolded was a sweeping narrative of military readiness, NATO solidarity, and strategic modernization that places Poland at the heart of Europe's security architecture. The address began with a pointed reminder of NATO's defensive nature and the importance of solidarity among allies. A senior leader declared, "These maneuvers show the degree of political mobilization of the entire NATO. I would like to thank our allies here, primarily from the United States, but also from European countries. We are all here working in solidarity to improve NATO's defense capabilities. This was not just routine rhetoric. It was a signal directed outward, toward adversaries, and inward, toward allies." Officials emphasized that these drills were not designed to escalate, but to protect. He continued, "These exercises, like the entire North Atlantic Treaty Organization, are defensive in nature and are a response to aggressive maneuvers on the other side of the border. There is no doubt about it." The subtext was clear. Poland and its allies are watching, they are prepared, and they are unwilling to be intimidated. Perhaps the most striking revelation of the day was the government's decision to proceed with the Orka program, a long-awaited investment in submarine capabilities. The Prime Minister confirmed, "Tomorrow, at the initiative of the Prime Minister, the government will decide to launch the Orka program. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Tomorrow, we will adopt a government resolution that commits us to purchasing submarines by the end of this year." For years, the Orka project has been mired in debate, with competing offers from international defence partners. Officials insisted that every option has now been carefully weighed. He explained, "All offers have been weighed, they are precisely listed, and now the Polish government will make the final decision on who will be our final partner in this programme." This step is more than procurement. It is a strategic shift, boosting Poland's naval capabilities and reinforcing NATO's collective deterrence in the Baltic Sea. Another critical point emphasized during the briefing was the chain of command in defense procurement. The government made clear that the military, not civilian politicians, determines what systems are purchased and how resources are allocated. The Prime Minister stressed it is the army that decides what purchases look like, what specific decisions are made regarding technology, specific equipment and exercises. No civilian will interfere with this. Civilian leaders, he noted, must ensure only that resources, political will, and national support stand firmly behind the armed forces. He underlined, "Our task is to provide full political support and ensure that the entire Polish state, the entire Polish nation, is with Polish soldiers, with the Polish army today, regardless of the situation." The remarks also included a heartfelt acknowledgement of Poland's soldiers, who have shouldered immense responsibility amid heightened tensions. The leader said, "I thank the generals, and I also thank on our behalf all the soldiers involved in the exercises, but also in the actions that have taken place in recent days, for their willingness to make difficult decisions. We take full responsibility for these decisions, together with the entire government and the entire Polish state." This was not merely symbolic praise. It was a signal of unity between political leadership and military command, a partnership crucial in times of uncertainty. Amid the broader defence narrative, officials addressed a specific incident that sparked alarm. A drone had been detected and neutralised over sensitive government and presidential sites. The Prime Minister reported, "This evening we received information from the police about the arrest, neutralisation of the drone and detention of citizens. A Ukrainian citizen and a Belarusian citizen were detained. The police are continuing their investigation, and this incident will be clarified in every respect. Authorities are investigating whether the drone represented an accidental breach or a deliberate provocation. Either way, the episode underscores Poland's vulnerability to unconventional tactics." Attention then turned to Poland's broader military stature within NATO. The message was bold. He said, "We have wonderful soldiers. We have a wonderful army. We are the third largest army in the North Atlantic Alliance, yet size alone is not enough. Operational capability requires integration, readiness, and advanced technology." That was the purpose of the exercises underway, the first in Polish history to test a fully integrated multi-layer air defence shield. He elaborated, "Poland is currently the only user of the IBCS system outside the United States. Today's exercises are intended to demonstrate operational and integration capabilities, but also lead to the full certification of the forces responsible for the air defence of the Polish state." The exercises, dubbed Iron Defender, involve all branches of Poland's armed forces: land, air, sea, territorial defence, and special forces, along with intelligence and counterintelligence services. These manoeuvres complement ongoing operations such as Safe Podlasie, which deploys 5,000 soldiers daily, and Baltic operations designed to safeguard sea lanes and deter incursions. The Prime Minister issued a stark warning. The response to this provocation is a violation of the airspace of NATO countries, because it is not only a violation of Poland, but it is a violation of the airspace of Europe, the NATO security alliance. One of the day's most significant developments was the activation of NATO's Article 4, a clause rarely invoked, allowing member states to consult when their territorial integrity or security is threatened. The Prime Minister detailed, "Following the activation of Article 4, Operation Eastern Guard was activated. Thank you to the French who have already sent their Mirages. There are still troops of the Kingdom of the Netherlands present and air forces operating over Polish territory. The Norwegians are getting ready. There are declarations from Denmark, Sweden, Great Britain, Italy, and Germany. The speed and breadth of NATO's response stand in stark contrast to Moscow's goal of dividing the alliance." He stressed, "This shows that the goal of the Russian Federation, the lack of response, the division of society, the breakdown of the alliance, has not been achieved. In fact, it has had the opposite effect. Article 4 has only been triggered a handful of times in NATO's history, most notably by Turkey over a decade ago. Then, consensus proved elusive. This time, Poland saw immediate unity." He explained, "It is rare for Article 4 to be triggered. We didn't have a problem with that here." Following the request submitted by the Prime Minister, following the diplomatic actions of the President of the government and all interested parties, this operation was activated. There was no hesitation in assigning blame. The Prime Minister said, "The Russian Federation is responsible for this provocation. We stand with Polish soldiers, with all their decisions, with their great courage and determination to defend the airspace over Poland." The remarks leave little doubt. Poland and NATO view recent airspace violations as deliberate acts of Russian destabilization. Finally, the address looked forward, outlining the modernization of Poland's arsenal. HIMARS and Chunmoo launchers are being integrated into service alongside one of the largest air defence investments in Polish history. The Prime Minister concluded with a declaration of progress. Today is a milestone in the inclusion of further equipment units into the operational capabilities, the integration of the air defence system, which is one of the largest investments in the history of the Polish armed forces. From the announcement of the Orka submarine programme to the activation of NATO's Article 4, the day's developments carried weight far beyond Warsaw. They underscored NATO unity, Poland's rising military profile, and the alliance's willingness to respond swiftly to provocation. The tone was sober, measured, but also resolute. This was a nation projecting strength, signalling to adversaries that it will not be intimidated, and reminding allies that it stands as a frontline defender of Europe. At the heart of it all was one simple but powerful theme: unity. Poland's leaders made it clear that in the face of threats, Poland is not alone, NATO is not divided, and Europe will defend its skies, seas, and borders together.